Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. I'm Chris Worden.
I'm Andy Jones-Wilkins.
And Aaron Barber.
And we are here to wrap up and cover what happened this weekend out here in the Sonoran Desert Cup at the Aravaipa Mountains, the Coldwater Rumble 40K, presented by Aravaipa Running. Aaron, as the race director, how do you think things went this weekend?
Overall, this was like a 10 out of 10 event for me. Like, things went really smooth. I was super happy about it, and that's a lot to ask given that we had a 100-mile distance, so we're out there on site for 44 hours straight, something like that. But not a lot of sleep, but the event went well.
Yeah, I thought it went pretty well myself. I was out there participating in the 40K, and just as a qualifier, I have eliminated any sort of conflict of interest by recusing myself naturally by not finishing in the top 20 of the Sonoran Desert Cup qualifier. But and you were out there as well.
That was very nice of you, Chris, to just take one for the team and take it easy. Yeah, I did the 60K, and it was a great day out there. The weather was perfect. I mean, the daytime weather was perfect.
Yeah.
And the course conditions were, I don't know, they weren't quite as bad as you played them up to in our pre-show.
Yeah,
so I think you did a good job. and I will say this, having done the 40K last year, that what you called the tweaks in the course,
Sure.
Particularly that last little kicker climb, I think those were nice.
I will say that I actually really did enjoy the course.
Yeah.
Outside of the extended sandy wash period on the backstretch, I mean, the in and out of the washes got pretty cumbersome by like mile 21, 22, but the course itself was gorgeous. I mean, great views. Obviously, the weather was fantastic, but even that last climb up at the end, I knew it was ahead of me. So, that was something I just kept in mind, and it is a little bit sadistic to see. Maybe from about 3 miles away.
Oh, yeah. It stares at you.
From a long ways away.
Yeah, but it was actually not that bad once you started up the climb. No. I mean, it's not like a hand and knee scramble or anything like that. It's just a long grind up to the top, and then when you come down the other side, you reap the rewards.
Yeah, boom, done.
So we had, of course, distances ranging from the shortest is now 5 miles?
Correct.
5 miles up to 100 miles. But we are going to concentrate on the 40K and jumping right into those results. It seems like with the women's race, things were pretty quick. The women's race, obviously, with it being a newer event, we have a new course record, which is not surprising. But I was really surprised by the gap at which was put on the previous record.
Yeah, Nicole, she looked like she was on a mission the whole time. But again, she moved to Arizona and lived right next to the park, so she knew every single trail. She's run the race a couple times before, so she knew what to expect, and she's a very talented runner.
This definitely turned my head because I didn't think the course was easier.
No,
so I don't think this is. I don't think this is one of over this 15 plus minutes over Megan's time from last year. I don't think is because the course is easier.
No,
I think she just ran a great race.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty shocked because having seen Megan, Lauren, and Nicole race, Lauren seems to really have it down in the 100K and up distance. Megan, anything shorter than a marathon, she's usually just straight, crushing it. And then Nicole has a wider range, but I don't think of her as being as fast as necessarily those other two at their games. And she came in and not only beat Megan's course record, beat Lauren heads up by 13 minutes.
Yeah. Nicole's quick. She's a college athlete too, so she's got some wheels in the short stuff, 5K and even under that as well.
Yeah, it was a really impressive effort this weekend. You can see the results here. Nicole Hansen finishing first in the women's race, Lauren Puritz second, both of the Aravaipa racing team.
Yes.
Elizabeth Scott out of Tennessee in third place, Jackie Lombardi, a Phoenix local, in fourth, Chinoa King in fifth, Tiffany Stroud in sixth. We'll talk about Tiffany here in just a few minutes. Kaylee Grooms in seventh, Jennifer Posey in eighth, Jackie Jacoby, who has already qualified for the Sonoran Desert Cup Championship, in ninth, and Jenny Mayer in 10th. Looking down these results, look at the state or province of origin here for these runners. This is a local race at heart, but we had people from several states and from Canada.
Yeah, that is pretty
20.
cool. I mean, right there in the top 20, you've got probably 10 states and provinces represented.
It was wild. There was 5 people from my hometown of Grand Rapids, Michigan, just in the race, like at the event.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Arizona, Washington, Tennessee, Colorado, New York, Pennsylvania, and Oregon all represented in the top 10. That's 7 states.
Yeah.
That's and Calgary, Alberta, Canada. There were only 2 Arizona locals to make the top 10.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive.
And I think, as we commented on in the pre-show, I do think this originally had the potential, and I think we're seeing it. It's a destination event for
absolutely.
folks. We've known for a long time that Javelina is and Black Canyon is, but this is definitely a destination event on the Aravaipa calendar now.
Yeah. And as you saw, if we can pull it back up here really quick, on the top 20 of the women's. There are a couple other names that we will be bringing up as well a little bit later. Megan O'Connor, Krista Wamsley, and Lindsay Mastery. And sliding over to the men's race.
I have a question for Aaron, too, while we're making this transition. Do you anticipate, as we were talking about the course record and so forth, do you think you've got the course the way you want it now as you look ahead to – because I know –
This one's set until they build my dream trail, which is we'll see if that happens. And that's a trail that goes up into the actual Estrella Mountains. Big 1,000-foot climb that's been proposed, not done yet. I don't know if it's going to be done for next year's event, but that would be a major change. Adding that,
got it. Yeah,
5
so that
miles
could be
and tweaking
potentially
things.
Down the road. But
Yes.
for now, is it as and I would say for the other distances too, because just speaking on behalf of like the 60K and the 100 and 100 miler, the 10-mile loop is for those of you who haven't been out here, it's a whole different deal. It's technical.
Sure.
There's a couple of little sort of saddles you've got to go over that are kind of grindy.
Yep.
So it really, if you're doing both of those, if you're doing those distances, it's a test of a runner's versatility, I think.
Yeah, there will be tweaks next year, but not on the course side. I'm thinking about moving an aid station from one spot to another, just for logistics on our back end of things. But in terms of the course, exactly the same. I liked how the flow worked. I liked the directions of how things were going and how kind of they merged up on that ridge and came down. It was just cleaner than previous years.
Yeah, I thought that was great too.
Yeah, Aaron actually was describing to me what the potential future of that race looks like, and one of the things he said is that, you'll get rid of some of those washes, but you'll have to replace it with a 1,000-foot climb. And I'm like,
right.
So, but that was the women's race, and we'll go back and we'll actually look at the standings for the season here in just a little bit. But then we'll pivot over to the men's race. Whereas we talked about the women's race being a very diverse event in terms of where the competitors came from. Jordan, if we can pull up that. Thank you.
Look at that. Tops.
The men's
a bunch
race
of Arizonas
was
at the
much more holding serve, I guess you could say, as far as the results. Almost an Arizona sweep, fairly far down the line. A racer that has participated in other events here locally, but the first time they've run a Sonoran Desert Cup race this season, Michael Tom Cheney came away as our winner with a course record.
Interesting resume he has. He's got Angeles Crest on his calendar later this year, one of the historic kind of legacy 100-milers down in Southern California, but did really well at the technical Mogollon Monster 42K back in September. He won that. He's done the Whiskey Basin trail runs, has a top 10 finish at Hurt. So he does well in some long stuff, and here, a pretty commanding almost 5-minute win.
He's got the second fastest time at Blackout 27K behind Jim Walmsley.
That's pretty good company.
Decent. Yeah. So he's definitely a name to watch out for if he chooses to run another event and makes it to that damn good run final. He's got the wheels to shake things up.
Yeah. A couple other names on the list. The next few are quite familiar to us here locally. Devin Sharps of the Aravaipa Racing Team finishing in second. I didn't see what happened there. Was there any point where Devin was in the lead potentially? Because we know that he can go out pretty hot sometimes.
Yeah, they ran together for, I'm just judging on my side from what I saw timing, but they ran together for about the first half, and then it looked like a slow pull away by Michael, where it was like they checked in at Dysart, pretty close. Then at Rodeo Ranch, it was maybe like 90 seconds, and then after that, it turned into maybe 5 minutes, but I don't think Devin was too pushed by. Yeah, Ryan was 10 minutes back.
Yeah. So he didn't have a rejection at the finish like he did at McDowell.
Yeah, Ryan.
But
Kiewit,
Devin's already in
Yes.
the Cup
That
from
is
his
true.
fall results. Yeah.
Ryan Kiewit, a Phoenix refugee turned Flagstaff local,
Yep.
finishing third. Ryan's brother, Ryan's been a part of this community a long time, and his brother Ross does a lot of our group run leads and stuff like that. And I know that they run together, and they run a lot of the same races as well.
Yeah.
So
Ryan he was getting chased by Kurt, and he did not have the best last section. I think he took a bad gel, he said, because up that last climb, he was rejecting it.
Oh, really?
And he kept, you can see the switchbacks. He was he was looking back at Kurt and then stopping to vomit a little bit. And then
yeah, Kurt Houghton had no stranger to this series as well, finishing in fourth place just off the podium. I didn't realize until just now, taking a closer look, that the 3 through 5 were fairly close to one another. And in fifth place is a name that's familiar to local racers and also racers out of the Midwest. Caleb Stevens finishing in fifth place.
Yep.
Looking further down, Jimmy Burnett in sixth, Brian Cusick in seventh, Nathaniel Chan, a friend of the program here, finishing in eighth, Henry James in ninth, and Bradley Zartman in 10th.
Notable that Brian Cusick, 50 years old, in the top 10, and Henry James, 14 years old.
Yeah, there were people way ahead of me in all of all age brackets out there. You could see Feggy Verisi finishing 11th, obviously a very notable runner himself as well. And down the line, there was a little bit more variance in terms of where people were from. Runners, Christopher Hutchings from Kansas, Edward Carter from Oregon, Aaron Kindle from Idaho, and a couple other people from other places as well. But rounding out the top 20, you can see on the far right the points that they accumulated towards the series finale at Damn Good Run. And actually, I did extract, so these are the 4 runners who have actually qualified as far as the number of races for the spring series. Now, this is obviously subject to change, but on the women's side, Tiffany Stroud on the back of a couple of strong finishes, a 5th place at Tan Scramble and a 6th place at Coldwater Rumble. Is actually atop the leaderboard on the women's side with 32 points in 2 races. Obviously, with the winners getting 25, she could be leaped over. However, at this point, she is the overall points leader in the series.
Nice.
So, Megan O'Connor and Krista Wamsley both tied for second place in the series in 18 points, and Lindsay Mastery in 4th with 7. And as we noted in the fall series, as long as you've got 2 races and any semblance of points, you can potentially make
you've
it.
got a good shot.
I believe that our lowest qualifier had 2 or 3 points.
Something like that. It was like
something
17th
quite
and 19th.
modest. Yeah. 17th place and a 19th place finish, but got into the championship over somebody who potentially only ran 1 race.
Correct.
And on the men's side, we have 2 runners, Nathaniel Chan and Bradley Zartman, have fulfilled the 2-race obligation. Obviously, there are still 2 more races to come in the series, 4 races this spring versus 3 in the fall.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is going to obviously shake up pretty wildly.
Well, and given the spread too, right? We've got Elephant Mountain coming up, but then there's a pretty good gap until Mesquite. So there could be somebody who's not even raced any of these so far who comes swooping in.
Yeah, and of course, there's a big line in the sand between Elephant Mountain and Mesquite Canyon, with a big event coming up on the 8th of February that I would assume a lot of these runners were using this 40K this weekend as a training run for, and that's of course Black Canyon.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and it'll be interesting to see which runners from these races are entering Black Canyon, and my belief is probably that it's going to be a huge chunk of them.
Yeah.
So, especially those that are coming in from out of town. So that's where we're at as far as the series goes. Looking ahead to our next race, it is the Sonoran Desert Cup race is the Elephant Mountain 35K.
Yep.
That is out at Cave Creek Regional Park, which is our second foray out into Cave Creek Regional Park.
Yes.
Aaron, for those who follow the series and know that we already have been out to Cave Creek, this course is going to be quite different.
things are about to get much more difficult.
Yeah. So, of course, at Cape Creek Thriller, it's a point-to-point, and they start out at Anthem and actually have a nice flat run for the first several miles. What are they looking forward to at Coldwater Rumble? Or,
Elephant
what are they
Mountain.
looking forward to at Elephant Mountain?
They are going to do a straight out and back, and they head north this time for the 35K. So we're going to go up to Spur Cross recreation area. That's going to...
Whoa.
Yeah, it's it's a doozy. Those, like you see, a lot of climbs, obviously, and they're not easy. They're big and rocky. To start the 35K, you're in the park. It's not too bad, kind of rolly. Once you leave the park is when things get real. It's like you jump over that fence, and there's just rocks everywhere. You go over the Elephant Mountain Saddle. That's a nice little climb. That's the high point of the course. Then it's a 2-mile bombing descent down to Spur Cross, but you turn right back around and have to go back up it.
Yeah, you really get out there in this race, and that's actually one of the things that I think is really cool about the Elephant Mountain 35K, which I believe was my first Aravaipa race ever. So,
Is that right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I know it was out at Elephant Mountain. I think it was the 35K though.
Nice.
So, I mean, it took me quite a while to get out there. I finished towards the back of the pack. So nothing has really changed fundamentally in terms of my relationship with that race. I was actually going to be racing it. I have to withdraw due to some family obligations, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens out there. Are you going to be out there racing at all? Or?
No, not going to make it out this time.
Okay.
Keeping the powder dry before that 50K the next weekend.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable. So, Aaron, do we know do we know where we're at as far as registration numbers for Elephant Mountain so far? Or?
It's like we're just under 500 right now.
Whoa.
So 2 weeks to go.
Here it goes again.
Yeah, it is pretty wild to think that these races, these local circuit races, are drawing several hundred people week in and week out, and it speaks to the attractiveness of the trails as well as how you're handling things that are going on out of these races. I heard nothing but positive things. People coming by to the timing tent when I'm hiding out there in the shade, and hearing people have nothing but great things to say. When they're checking up on their family and whatnot.
Yeah,
so.
I'm reminded too of our conversation with Jamil at Frenzy, where he talked about some of the original vision of this dirt series to showcase the various regional parks. The Maricopa County regional parks are incredible. Of course, everybody knows about McDowell, but just the way in which you are able to showcase Estrella. There's 2 times out to Cave Creek, down to Santan. I really think, especially folks who are coming from out of the area, to see these, we'll be in the White Tanks in March for Mesquite. It's just an incredible sort of in all 4 directions from downtown Phoenix. You can hit one of these beautiful regional parks, and it's a great that we can showcase them in this series. It really is.
So looking ahead to the Elephant Mountain 35K, see a few names that are familiar. Actually, one that's very familiar, but not for this series. Right off the top, Pete Kostelnik is running the 35K.
Yeah.
First of all, it's a trail race, which Pete is pretty picky and choosy about which trail races he does. Second of all, it's not 100+ miles.
Right.
So,
I think the answer he's
training for
Lindsay too.
They're
together, so that might be why that he's coming down. So.
Well, and I know Pete is. I believe he's training for Cocodona.
I wouldn't be surprised at that.
I mean, I think he's training for Cocodona. If not, it's probably something other big, long, like running from here to Mars and back. Or something.
Right.
So, but that's a quick little preview.
Cool to see our buddy Nathaniel jumping into a 3rd one in a row.
That's
good. He's staying healthy.
Yeah, he's staying healthy and he's staying at it. Some other familiar names on that list. I see
Lindsay and Megan. That's going to be Lindsay's quick.
That's going to be a race.
Yeah,
look at that.
They've both got speed.
You can see Elliot Ulrich, Jackie Jacoby, some other familiar names down the list. Krista Wamsley again. I know Jesse Ziegler has run a couple races in the series.
Nice.
So
Cody's coming back too. Sweet.
Jeremy Harper, who will be crewing me at a race later this year. So I mean, we've got a bit of a field there to look forward to at Elephant Mountain. So
And coming up pretty quick, February 1st. So
Haven't noticed.
Aaron, how
you barely even rinse out the buckets before you.
Well, that's John Marushek's job.
Yeah.
Elephant's my third race of my tough stretch where I go. It's like 3 races in 5 weeks. One of them being Coldwater with a 100-miler. So I feel like the gap after Elephant Mountain, where I get a month off, is that feels like an eternity.
Yeah, and of course that'll be that after that month off will be Mesquite Canyon, which to me just it feels different than the rest of the.
It's a mountain race. It's not even a trail race.
Well, it's not even that. It's the level of competition that shows up for Mesquite is typically much stronger. I mean, you are not like it's not unheard of to see somebody like a Jeff Browning or a Jim Walmsley show up to that race because they have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like like that's the race that I feel like you'll tend to see a lot more people because it is the first opportunity for a lot of people to get that hot mountain running in because it gets hot.
I think the timing is good too. Whether it's somebody like me who's training for Cocodona or someone who has like a big 100 in the summer, it's nice to find a 50K or a 50 miler on dirt in March and then find something else in April and find something else in May. So I think its position on the calendar, puts it there with like the Way Too Cools and the Chuckanuts of the world.
I feel like I should be taking notes here as getting these races under. Actually, I will be at Mesquite running the 30K. So one time up, go
only
campus
one.
fine for
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
So, but I think that just about does it for us here this week. Any parting words as far as if people are interested in running Elephant Mountain? There's still room
sign
to
up.
register?
There'll be race day sign up as well. We're not close to hitting any of the caps, so any of the dirt series races, Sonoran Cup races, you can show up on race day if you missed the early entry.
Yeah, and for those who haven't run out at Cave Creek Regional Park, it really is gorgeous. It's probably my favorite of the regional park system here that we have in Maricopa County. So
yeah, great stuff. Yeah, my son just did the prickly pedal out there.
Yeah, how'd that go? Of course, Aravaipa had multiple races this weekend.
He got second. He had a good race. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who are interested in mountain biking, obviously Aravaipa has that as well. So
check it out, Aravaipa Rides.
So as a race director, does that spread things thin? Like when you're trying, like basically, is there a draft for like who gets who as far as like crew and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're gonna try not to do that anymore, especially with an event like 100-mile. That just it's really heavy on staff requirements with being just so many hours to be out there. So yeah, we're that was a challenge.
Yeah, like I mean, it's got to be when you've got multiple races in the valley and you're we've obviously got race crew here with Aravaipa, but there's only so many people, and so obviously the volunteer aspect of it becomes so crucial. I did see that there were some additional postings for both events this past weekend. Were you able to get your volunteer spots filled this year?
Volunteer spots got filled. I had people show up race day, ask if they could help with breakdown, which was already filled up, but I was like, nope, come, we want the extra hands.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, especially at that point, like myself and some of the staff, we're running on 0 sleep for that time, so trying to do breakdown, it's better just to have extra hands.
Well, I could tell by the time I departed for the day at about, about 4 p.m. or so, I could tell that for those who had been involved in the setup and the maintenance of the race itself, you could tell y'all were getting a little bit tired and maybe in need of a nap or something.
I slept for 54 minutes, so it was good.
So you treated it like a race unto yourself.
Yeah.
So, well, I think that just about does it for us here this week. Tune in. I guess we'll be doing a preview next week then.
Yeah.
Right back at it.
Mountain preview show.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.
Bye.